And a good morning to you all. It's Kev from Just About Watches. Now today we're going to have Insure Your Watches Part 2. Before we do that, I'll do what I fancied doing the other day, and I thought no I won't, but I'm going to. Wristwatch of the day. It's a Luminox Navy Seal 3500 series. I only wore it because I just matched the colour of my top. Didn't really, I just put it on for the sake of it. Anyway, back to the insurance, and that is an absolutely vital aspect of watch collecting that most don't cover. Now I've gone through even the largest of YouTube channels that look at watch collecting, and I see very little evidence of anybody covering watch insurance and the absolute necessity for it. And it's on that aspect that I believe that admins and people on the front line, so to speak, so figureheads of groups, have a duty of care to help their members. And I intend to do that. I'm not just going to, for argument's sake, pick up one of these watches and say, today I'm going to review this. No. We can all do that. I will be reviewing watches and I'll be giving unfettered reviews. I'll pick on things if I have to because I don't have any vested interest in doing otherwise. But my duty of care is to make sure that all aspects of watch collecting are covered. And I'm going to do that with part 2 today. I may not cover it all, but I'm going to cover a lot of it. So, we know from experience from my first video that I got caught by the insurance company when I had a rather expensive watch stolen. Now, it'll make sense as I go further into this video why the insurance company refused to pay out. But safe to say that the primary reason they gave was the fact that my watch had been posted on the internet, and therefore I gave Burglar Bill the opportunity. Well, I disagreed, but quite frankly I didn't win, and it cost me more than just the watch. So I want you to avoid that. And there's two aspects of this and how to avoid or protect yourselves that I'm going to cover tonight. And the first part of it is going to be the simple question, are you insured? Now, I can see many chortling to themselves in specific groups out of ignorance. Of course we're insured, but I'll bet you my bottom dollar that if they ran to check if they have an insurance policy and read the fine small print, and it's so small you do need a magnifying glass or lupe to look at it, you'll find that there's clauses in most insurance policies that don't cover what are classed as valuables. Now, that's a very vague coverage because I wouldn't, in my own mind, classify a £400 or dollar watch as a valuable. In truth, in my life, I wouldn't necessarily class a £1,500 watch as a valuable. It's not cheap, but it's not the most valuable thing that I've got in my life. But it's classed as a valuable because of its sellability. There's quite a few technicalities in it. But let's look at the bigger picture. Now, I looked at these. There's 10 watches. Let's ignore those. Let's ignore this little one that's sneaking in the back. That's worth more than all the watches there put together, including 3 in this particular case, which are worth many thousands of pounds. They'll go in the safe. I absolutely adore looking at them, and that's enough about them. But let's look at these 10. On average, if we were to look at replacement value, there would be approximately £5,000 worth of watches. That's if I could get them again. I may have to import one from America or another country. I may have to pay for the shipping costs and, of course, customs duties. So, I've given a base example on these watches of £5,000, which is probably $6,000 to $7,000. Now, that's not short change for most people. You just imagine increasing that scale, and each of these were 10,000 per piece. You're talking bigger money. The scales go up. Now, you all know that I have rather a large collection of watches, and the average of my watches is on the lower end, around about the £400 to £500 mark. I have some cheaper, but it balances itself out. For argument's sake, the 1500, 4, 5, 6, 5, 6, and so on. So the mean score would be around about £500 a piece. An awful lot of money if you're not insured. So quickly on to what is insurance. Well, we know that insurance is a protection against third-party fire, theft, damage and loss. So are you insured? Now, I know from my group alone and from the information gleaned from the researchers I've sent out that a lot of younger elements or younger people collect watches, and many of them live with their parents, and therefore are not to be chastised for thinking that mum and dad might have covered the home content insurance. Now let's define two parts of insurance here. There's building insurance and there's content insurance, and they are separate entities. The house could burn down and I may well be covered. But if I haven't paid separate content insurance, I won't be covered for the content, only the building. And then there's the third part, and that's the specialty insurance. Now, I'll give you an example. Ironically, little things like scale, Mac mouse, just about this cloth, believe it or not, are covered. Now, I have to be careful to hide a little piece of information there, but this iPhone isn't or wasn't covered by home content insurance. I had to pay extra premium because of its value. It's classed as invaluable. It's not classed as, now the television may be more expensive, but it's not, you're not going to carry out a 60-inch screen TV when you're going out for a walk. So I guess that's the kind of principle they're thinking of with regards to why that's a specialty value or an object. And the same principle applies to the good old watches. Regardless of the fact that that's only £1,500 and some of these are a third of the price, they are classed as valuables. But more importantly, because they're a collective, there's 10, ignore them, ignore that. 10 pieces there, they are a collection. And when you apply to purchase insurance, content insurance, you have a duty of care under law to let the insurance company know that you have a collection of anything. Now I'll go to this gold pen. Now that's solid gold for the biggest part and worth about £750 to £1,000. I have hundreds of pens. I have hundreds of silver proof and gold proof coins, not necessarily here, but in my possession. I'm a bit of a magpie when it comes to collecting. Now, I quickly learned that you have to itemize, categorize, and make sure that you can evidence every piece that you have. You have to take into account replaceability values, etc. We did cover a little bit of that in the first video. So, assuming that we've actually now shown due diligence and told Mr. Insurance Man or the lady on the phone taking your details that you've got a collection of watches for XYZ amount, you then pay an extra premium. But as much as it hurts the pocket, at least you're not going to worry if you took out a watch and had it stolen, lost or damaged. It would at the very least get replaced, or you'd get recompensed. So that would soften the blow. That's the first part of the insurance protection that I wanted to cover tonight. Now the second part is something that we all ignore. I don't anymore, but I had at one time, and I've got criticised for it. I'll tell you a little story very quickly. A gent with tattooed sleeves posted this week. He's got a beard and moustache, so you may identify him. He took a photograph of two Pateks, and then he took a photograph of his own, and a sublime watch indeed, worth many, many thousands, if not tens of thousands, I'm not certain. But I explained the danger of showing his own property, and I'm now going to move to that. Now let's say, for example, I put on, there's nothing that you don't, on every group that you go on, you will see somebody do a wrist shot. You've got the usual watch on. I think it's a Luminox, isn't it? The Luminox Navy Seal 3500. Nice little watches actually, goes with my top. So we've done a wristwatch shot. Let me just carefully manipulate. Now I'm taking a snapshot. But the only time I realise I should wear white gloves is when I'm using an iPhone. I'll never use it when I'm handling a $20 watch. I think that's pathetic. I've got a cloth for that. So I've taken a photograph to show my peers and my friends on whatever group I may be on. Instagram, Pictogram, Facebook, Twitter, wherever. And I've done that in good faith. But what are the insurance company going to say to you if that watch is stolen? Because insurance companies, I can tell you, are very, very quick in taking the money off you in premiums, but are not so quick to pay out. They will go to heaven, hell and back to find ways of not paying. I don't know why. Perhaps that's the nature of the beast, and there's been so much fraud in the past. I don't see why innocent people should suffer, but they do. So protect yourself against that. Now, have I done anything wrong in taking that photograph and posting it on Just About Watches? Well, in reality, for a £400 watch, no. Now, what about the fact that I've posted 400 watches in a load of trays, and on average the watches are £500 each? That's an awful lot of money in one location. But how are people going to find that out? Well, the trouble with evolution is that as much as it helps us, it can also be our worst nemesis. The smartphone is too smart for its own good, in my view. When I just took that photograph, or mimicked taking a photograph, what was in that image hidden was metadata. So it had dates, times, locations, whereabouts, etc. Probably more. Now, you've all seen that in your holidays screenshots or snapshots, whatever you call them, where sometimes you just put the settings there where you show the date and where you were. Cancun, Mexico, 20th of the 3rd, 1999. So you've pretty much seen how powerful that photograph is. It's cataloguing the history. But what about the hidden information? The detail and data that you can't see, but the criminal can. And this is where I was concerned with regards to the gentleman I spoke to who met the owner of Patek. With regards to imagery, is that the very process of taking the photograph of his own watch more than the other two, because we knew they were in a flagship store, was the fact that he probably wasn't aware that the geolocation of his smartphone was turned on, and therefore the longitude and latitude of where that photograph was taken was pinpointed and stamped inside packets of data within the photograph. Now, criminals are very, very clever people. They can go and find software. If you can create software to make photographs, you can create software to break photographs. And it only takes a concerted effort for somebody to find the details of that photo. So, if somebody, for argument's sake, took a photograph of a $200,000 watch and posted it on the internet, that criminal could quite easily use very similar software to Google Earth with a longitude and latitude and pinpoint exactly where that watch is or was at the time of taking the photograph. It leaves what's called an audit trail. And therefore, if in the unlikely event, or the likely, I beg your pardon, event that the photograph was taken at home, it doesn't matter how much of a safe you have. If that criminal wishes to have a $200,000 Patek or whatever watch it may be, which is usually accompanied by others, he's not going to worry about flying to that place. It's there waiting for him. Treasure Island. So, let the lesson be learned. Turn your geolocation off when taking images of your valuables, and in this case watches. You can turn it on as and when after. Most of us keep them on unwittingly because of the fact we use Google Earth, Google Maps and others. A lot of software we download actually activates the location without telling you. It's not quite a right practice to do, but they don't tell you, they don't care. Facebook know everything about you. Why do you think you get adverts that are directed exactly at you? And all of a sudden you wonder how the hell they know what you like. You're posting up your life in an audit trail. And that includes your watches. And that can invalidate your insurance because you haven't taken a duty of care and acted with due diligence in protecting your property. And that's where they caught me out. And that's where I had a big fall with a lot of money. So, we've learned two things tonight that expand on the insure your watches aspect. Make sure that you check today at your earliest convenience that whatever valuables you have are covered by your insurance policy, and if they're not, do so. Don't be complacent. Don't ever think it won't happen to you, because it can. Err on the side of caution. You won't have to worry then. Once you've made sure that the premiums are covered, your valuables are covered, you can sleep at night. Make sure that you act with due diligence with regards to the geolocation and geotagging. Don't feel the need to boast to your peers. I have this, look, it's in my house. Here's a loom shot of my house. No, here's a snapshot to Burglar Bill. Learn the lesson. You have to, in modern day, be eternally cynical and careful. Trust no one. You look at Facebook and you'll see, or you'll think, that the person you've been talking to for a year and a half is the nicest person in the world, only to find down the line a shout of foul. He was so nice, I trusted him. I sent him a watch, but I never had my money. You don't know who they are in truth, and unless you do, don't ever lend a watch. Because are they insured if they had damage to the watch? You see videos of people higher profile than me, or more established than me then, that mention the fact that another has lent them a watch. Now another is no longer insured once they've sent that watch, unless they've taken protection out. Is the person who's going to do the review on the borrowed watch able to pay for any loss or damage? I'm sure they probably would like to, but how could they? You have to understand the concept of how important insurance is on all aspects of watch collecting. It's on that note that I won't go on any more. I think I've made a point. We'll cover a little bit more just to finish it off in part 3. I did say we may run over on that. The next videos that we're going to do will be reviews on some new brands. But with regards to this one, I would say to you, please subscribe, please like, please share. Now, sharing isn't just caring about brain tumour and cancer research in this instant. It's about sharing the knowledge of the absolute necessity to insure your watches and your valuables. Please don't fall victim like I did. It's not a nice feeling when you can't get your watch back or compensation. I wish you a good day, good night, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Stay safe, stay well, keep loving watches.